It's 10 to 4 on a Tuesday afternoon in early March, and I'm walking across the street towards a cafe in Richmond. I'm feeling really frustrated. I find a table outside, I sit down, I throw my keys, phone and wallet on the table, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I here? Why did I book this meeting? I've got business challenges of my own at the moment. I've got a really urgent role to fill. I need to find a senior project manager. And now I've got the next hour sitting in front of a graduate, yet another graduate, trying to tell them and teach them how to find a job and the very basics of the construction industry. But the reason why I booked this meeting was just a week before, Rami managed to work his way into my heart. There was something about him, I could just tell that he had potential and had this feeling that he was a good kid. I told him on the phone call that he needed to change his LinkedIn profile picture. I told him that the picture of him in a black suit with his arms folded, posing in front of a modified Holden Commodore with a look of blue steel on his face was maybe a hot picture for Tinder. LinkedIn, not so much. Often when I'm brutally honest like that with people, they get offended. I don't know why I'm honest like that. Maybe it's the South African in me, I don't know. But not Rami. He changed that picture right there and then while I was still speaking with him on the phone. I was astonished. He took that advice and he just ran with it. And I thought to myself, this kid's coachable and there's something here. So I booked that meeting. Still, that all happened last week. And since then, all of my tasks and my work have piled up. And all I want to do right now is get back to my desk and do the important work, the revenue producing work. I look down at my phone to check my email, but my attention is caught by the tall figure walking towards me. It's Rami. He's wearing tight black skinny jeans, a long-hemmed white t-shirt and white runners. He looks sharp, he looks clean cut and he looks very fashionable. But he looks like he's going on that Tinder date. It doesn't look like he's coming for a job interview. He sits down, he puts a pack of cigarettes and a lighter on the table next to his phone and his keys. And I think to myself, oh dear, this might be a short meeting. We start with the usual icebreaker conversational stuff and I can tell that he's nervous. The conversation isn't as free-flowing as it was on the phone the week before. I need to get him to talk. I need to make a decision here whether I'm going to invest time in this meeting or whether I might be cutting it short. I ask him questions. I say, so you've been trying to find a role since you graduated last year and you've been finding it tricky. Tell me about it. So he starts to tell me about his job application process and an all too familiar story of him sending many CVs out into Seek and graduate programs, sending CVs out in the ether only to be met by silence. I asked him why he wants to join the construction industry, and he gives me a familiar story about being passionate about construction and having a keen interest in the building industry. Nothing new here. And I can feel my desk calling. It's only when he starts talking about his personal life and his upbringing that I start to pay more closer attention. I ask him where he grew up and he says, Frankston. And I can feel that he almost wants to justify growing up in Frankston. And I keep quiet and I let him speak. He tells me how his mum and dad immigrated to Australia before he was born and how his dad made this conscious decision to settle on the opposite end of the city and compared to where the other communities from his home country settled. He tells me about his dad's strict old-fashioned values, and we speak about how he embraced these values rather than rejected him. We speak about the contrast in growing up in a stereotypical place like Frankston and then that being the backdrop and growing up in this ultra-conservative home. He told me how he had to make conscious decisions not to follow the same pathways as some of his peers that could lead him to some dark places. And I could tell that growing up in Frankston wasn't easy. He then tells me about his dad, and he tells me how proud his dad was when he graduated with his Bachelor of Construction Management from RMIT. But the problem was that his dad believed that a university degree guarantees success. And here he was 6 months later, still haven't found an entry-level job in construction, and he's still doing manual labouring in a warehouse. And every day his dad will walk into his room and say, "Have you found a job yet?" I can feel the toll this is taking on him as he shifts uncomfortably in his seat. I think to myself, shit. I'm emotionally invested in this kid now. I have to help him. The call of my desk is softer now, and I feel myself being very focused in the moment, unexpectedly so. Right, well, we better find you a job quick smart then, I say, to lighten the mood and shift the energy. I spend the next hour with him trying to do as much as I can to help him. I mapped the whole industry out for them. We talk about client side and builder side, and we talk about different builders. We look at websites of some of the clients that I work with. We look at some LinkedIn profiles of junior and senior people, and I could tell his excitement and enthusiasm building. He's really coming alive. He's like a kid in a candy store, and I'm feeling really enthusiastic as well. And at some point, I look down at the clock and it's 5:35 p.m. We've been at this for over 90 minutes and it's time to wrap up. I stand up and I shake his hand. He shakes my hand and he says, pauses and says, you know, I think I've learned more in the last hour than I have done in the last year at university. And then his expression on his face changed and he said, almost in a state of anger, why am I only learning this from you now? I can still feel his handshake as I walk back to my car, and I feel overwhelmed with emotions, and I don't know why. I've had these experiences many times before, but there's something different. I sit in my car and I feel sort of guilty and ashamed by my small-minded and petty attitude I had towards the meeting only an hour before. But at the same time, there's this sense of gratitude, and that sense of gratitude feels connected to a bigger purpose. At that point in the car, I have this flashback of myself, and it takes me all the way back to 2005, where I'm standing outside the offices of Hays Recruitment in London. It's 40 minutes before my first interview. It's pouring with rain, and I'm awkwardly standing in the foyer of a building opposite the offices of Hays to get out of the rain. I didn't really have any money for a coffee, and I didn't want to stray too far away from the office in case something happened, because I dare not miss this interview. I really needed this interview to give me a job. I was in London, I was penniless, I didn't know anyone in the country, and this position, this job I was going for was my ticket to a better life. I had no idea of the industry I'm going to walk into. I didn't even know what recruitment consultants really did, and I was just as lost back then. But the contrast here is that Rami has just finished a 4-year university degree from RMIT. So why is it that he knows so little about the industry? Why is it that he's struggling so much to find a job? Why is there this lack of information? And it's not just Rami, this is a universal problem. I have these conversations with graduates every single day, and there's something not right here. Why is it that that so few graduates can tell me what a project manager actually do when they themselves want to be a project manager? Why is it that almost no graduate can tell me the real difference between client side and builder side? Why do we have such a lack of estimators in the industry, and why aren't more people taking on that career path? And is it because there is this misperception that being an estimator is somehow subservient to being a project manager? I had someone tell me the other day that they wanted to be an estimator, but they're not going to pursue the career because artificial intelligence is going to take over the jobs of commercial estimators. How ridiculous is that? Lauren and I have spent the past month speaking to many different people across different levels of the industry to bring this problem into sharp focus. And it's really apparent that there's this big gap between the theoretical world of the universities and the real world, the industry, the builders themselves, and even the graduate programs. Now, all graduates and all people are going to have to work hard to cross this gap and make the leap themselves. This is true. But do we have to send people into this wilderness without a map or any direction at all? So we've decided to build an online platform that will help university students, graduates and potentially even high school students to navigate this pathway, to show them all of the different destinations in the world of construction and to show them how to get there. This program will have various different modules and we call it Next Step. We believe by doing this we can attract more people to the commercial construction space and we can help university students and graduates to make better, more informed decisions quicker and bring more people into a diverse range of roles and not just project management. Now this is a big undertaking and we can't do it ourselves. So we'll be talking to a range of people across many different levels in the industry. We're interested in talking to junior CAs and project coordinators that's only been in their role for a year to understand what has their recent experiences been, and with everyone all the way up to business owners, directors and business leaders. The more information we can get, the better we can put this information together onto this platform. And if you are wondering what happened to Rami, 3 days later he went into an interview for a graduate position with a tier 3 commercial builder. They liked him so much they offered him the job on the spot. He's been there ever since, and the last time I spoke to the director he said he was going great guns.